Next thing I was invited, set for interview at the military police headquarters. And I went there on the 18th and I was arrested myself and detained in a cell.
What for?
I don't know. When I was removed, I reported straight to the presidency and I said, okay, this was what they said, do not report. That they were going to address it.
Right.
And this thing. So I didn't know it was set up.
So these narratives conveniently serve those that are promoting this conflict for the last 26 years. I think it's time we address that, because I can actually see how a foreign header can move either from Cameroon or Niger or Mali to be right at the north central of Nigeria. You see, this issue of headers and armed headers is also a narrative. Headers are not armed.
When you are dating, for instance, and you have shown up as an independent woman who is able to do everything for herself, you are working in your masculine energy, okay? And you attract a man in his feminine energy. Now, let me define quickly what those energies are.
So Nigeria's defense headquarters has once again attributed the recent spate of killings in Benue and Plateau, another parts of Nigeria, to foreign herders who have infiltrated the country through our porous borders. According to the military, the linguistic and physical evidence suggests that many of the attackers are not Nigerians. But the secretary of the Mieti Allah Cattle Roasters Association is not buying this.
This notion and narrative of foreign herders is a distraction, probably a continuation of a narrative of denying citizenship to the Nigerian herders. And we feel it's one of the challenges to finding peace in this country, particularly with respect to the herder-farmer conflict.
So let's explore what you just said, denying citizenship to the herders in Nigeria. Maybe you expand on that particular issue even further so that we understand exactly what you're trying to say.
You see, when you deny people citizenship rights by alluding that they are foreigners, then you deny them all the rights, you deny them inclusivity in governance, you refuse to give them social justice. So these narratives conveniently serve those that are promoting this conflict for the last 26 years. I think it's time we address that, because I can actually see how a foreign header can move either from Cameroon or Niger or Mali to be right at the north central of Nigeria. You see, this issue of headers and armed headers is also a narrative. Headers are not armed, but you have armed bandits and lawless criminals in our forests. All these are lumped to be called armed headers. We need to separate them. We need to know that the criminals are there in our forests and deal with the criminals. And the first line of victims of those criminals are the headers. We have lost so many headers. We have lost thousands of cattle in the hands of these criminals. But at the same time, we have been accused as the criminals.
But
so
Mr.
the challenge
Mr.
is now,
Hassan,
even the institutions, yes.
Mr. Hassan, if you're listening to the entire narrative, particularly the ones coming from those affected in these states, Benue now, for instance, the governor has said that these are Fulani from outside the country, because the type of Fulani that they speak, or is it the language that they speak, is alien to that which is indigenous to Nigeria. So it may not be an entire labeling of the Fulani of the Nigerian extraction. What do you say to that?
I think he is the chief security officer of the state. Maybe security information at his domain. He can give him such information. He can shed more light on this. But we that are working with communities in rural areas, I want to state categorically, emphatically, we don't have foreign headers in north central Nigeria and in Nigeria entirely. Where you have some elements of foreign headers is along the border communities, areas of Jigawa, Kebbi, part of Maiduguri, and some part of Adamawa State. What you have bandits. And bandits can come from anywhere. Those bandits that are armed cannot be classified as herders because they are not herding cattle. If you see bandits with cattle, probably are cattle stolen from the herders, the indigenous herders we have in the communities. And let me tell you something. All herders, where they are localized, they speak the indigenous languages. That's why we're calling for national integration of the herders, community integration of the herders, so that you know the herders in your domain. And we cannot pretend that herders are aliens to any of the communities, particularly in the north-central Nigeria.
Are you saying that herders are not responsible for some of the atrocities we see in the country? Are you exonerating herders in that sense? Are you saying you don't have militia herders or criminal elements within the herder rank and file? Because that because whether you speak to people, we've spoken to literally everybody, from Benue to Plateau to where all of this happens. And there's a central thing: herders, herders, herders. Whether there's an infiltration of bandits in between. So are you exonerating herders in that sense? Because we see herders carrying guns and all of that.
We need to contextualize it.
Yes.
Most of the pictures you see of herders carrying guns are not even from Nigeria. But I'm telling you, the herders that we are working with in our organization, they don't carry weapons. I have been saying this consistently. But you have criminal elements that have taken over our rural areas. The herders are the first line of victims of those criminals. They rustle their cattle, they kidnap them for ransom. The reports are there with the security agencies, but it's always convenient for security agencies to blame foreign herders so that there won't be deep conversation on this issue so that we can address the root causes. That's why we're insisting that, look, if you say foreign herders, parade them. Let's see their nationalities. It's not a question of whether you speak a variant of Fulfulde or not. You see, we have been pretending in this country in the last 26 years.
But
I've been working on these issues.
But Mr. Hassan,
development agencies have been working on these issues, yes.
In Plateau State, those who are affected, in the latest round of killings, point accusing fingers even at, again, Fulani. They say that there was, in fact, a peace accord between them and the Fulani, but the Fulani are known to always breach the peace accord. So these are the concerns. If you go to Edo State, prior to that distressing event, the people in Uromi had complained about how their women were raped on their farms, some were killed on their farms. Again, the same accusing fingers is pointed at Fulani herders. So can you truly exonerate, criminal elements who are perpetrating this and giving the entire ethnic group a bad name?
You see, the context I want us to look at these issues. You see, for Plateau, I grew in the Plateau, I schooled in the Plateau. Today, my generation are the ones in governance on the Plateau. And we know the root causes of this crisis. Even the latest crisis are not supposed to be tagged farmer-herder conflict. How did it start in Bokos? It was a question of theft of motorcycle that led to those crises. So they now interpret any type of conflicts as farmer-herder. If you go on the Plateau now, there is no any crop that is there for herders to trespass. And the question I always ask, have we lost faith in our judicial system? You see, there are attacks and counterattacks. You have attacks that are followed by reprisals. And unfortunately, there is also politicization of the crisis. If you look at down south, what you have displaced bandits from northwest and other jihadist groups that have found it difficult to stay within the northern part of the country, probably because of the ecology. They are looking for thick vegetation. They move towards the south. And most of them now carry cattle, which are even for trading. Those are not herders. And herders that are now rearing their cattle peacefully, they are faced with double jeopardy. If you don't defend yourself, because security is not there to defend you, these criminals will come and rustle the whole of your cattle. For the Plateau, if the governor wants to be sincere, he has grown together with Fulanis, pastoralists, particularly in his local government. This conflict is just recent, and we know the drivers of those conflicts on the Plateau. It's likely political, because there is an agenda to expel the herders on the Plateau. The governor knows this. His godfather in politics, the former governor, Senator Jang, is a driver of that narrative, expelling herders on the Plateau. And they have renewed that call now. Look at the case of the so-called occupied 64 villages. I laughed when I see those stories in the media. Those are IDP camps that government never took care of. herders were displaced from 43 villages on the plateau. And they now move into those those wastelands, mine lands, and considered a safe corridor for themselves. I want to be disputed. There is no single council ward on the plateau that is being taken over by the herders.
Mr.
So we have
Hassan,
to be honest if we want to have a solution.
Mr. Hassan, you've made strong allegations against the former governor. He's not here to respond, so I'm not going to speak for him, but I'm sure he might be listening and want to answer you. But it's difficult to process to the effect that, given all that is playing out, we have asked you one question that I don't think you've answered. Are you saying, so let me repeat that question again so that I'll put you on record. There are bad and good people everywhere. Are you saying within your rank and file, you don't have criminal elements, militia elements, whichever word is convenient, that are perpetrating this evil in the name of whatever guise amongst you? Is that what you're saying?
You see, I'm telling you categorically that herders that are peaceful and doing their herding business have no business with this banditry. But you see, when you have state ethnic militia being masqueraded as vigilantes, killing innocent herders, the herders are left with no option than to resort to self-help. Some of these issues you see, the state governors are responsible for it. Instead of you to use conventional security to enforce law and order, you now set on an ethnic army and name it whatever from community security, vigilantes, and they do all manner of injustices to the herders. So I'm telling you, you can quote me anywhere, herders that are peaceful and grazing do not carry arms, are not responsible for these criminalities. But as you know, we have criminals in every ethnic group. Today, can you blame the Kanuris for the atrocities of Boko Haram?
So, Mr. Alassane, so just a moment, we're saying the same thing. So now we're looking, what you're talking about is we're looking for who to blame as the aggressor. What you're saying by extension is the fact that the herders are peaceful until, quote unquote, this government set up whatever vigilante to attack them, and they now attack, or by reprisal they attack them back. So you're saying by essence we have militia herders in that sense to defend the herders who are innocently attacked. Is that what you're saying?
No, you see, don't put words into my head. It's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you have criminal elements within our rural areas. Some of these criminal elements, you cannot rule out that they are also Fulani criminal elements, because arrests have shown that some of them are Fulanis. But does that translate? Herding is an occupation, it's an economy. But when you criminalize the economy, automatically you are criminalizing the entire ethnic group, which is wrong. You see, we have criminals, we have elements in the southeast, IPOP, killing people, burning economic infrastructure. You do not target Igbo criminals. Treat criminals as criminals. Treat bandits as bandits. Address them. In fact, the herders can be even a solution to this conflict because they are the first line of victims.
So, Mr. Al-Hassan, does the Miyetti Allah Kautal Hore Fulani Social Cultural Association, does it have a register of all members of its organization throughout the country? Because we see herders, even in our own community here, driving their cattle, even on roads. That's another conversation for another day. But we see them all over the country. So do you have a register of all members of your organization? That's on the one hand. So if you're saying that there are credible Fulani who ply their business throughout the country, should we begin to see more statements condemning attacks allegedly perpetrated by armed Fulani herders?
I want to correct that narrative. Don't say armed Fulani herders, because only the security agencies can categorically say that. You have armed bandits. You don't know, you cannot specify their ethnicity. You see, our organization have been working on peace buildings with the security agencies since 2014. The records are there. And with our structure, we have register of our members in every community. With the aid of information technology, I can just place a call to our chairman in Oyo State. He will tell me what is going on. But you see, if you are dealing with a demography that is fluid in the rural areas, that is constantly on migration, there are challenges in actually tracking who are responsible for these crimes. But I want to state, our headers, based on the reports we receive daily, they are first line of victims of these criminals. And we have to protect them, the state have to protect them, not to now hang it on their neck. They are not the security agencies to fish out criminals in the rural areas.
But
Even those that choose to cooperate, they are being killed daily.
Mr. Al-Hassan, pardon me. On the front page of the papers this morning, the Defense Headquarters is saying foreign herders behind attacks on Benue Plateau communities. And whenever we hear about stories of these killings, we don't hear that Fulani herders killed en masse. What we hear is 50 indigents on the plateau are killed. What we hear is people are killed in Benue and they're displaced from their communities. We certainly do not hear that Fulani herders of Nigerian extraction have been killed en masse.
So I'm telling you, this has been the narratives right from the colonial period. The Fulani man is always the fall guy in these issues. It all has to do with competition on land resources. But the defense headquarters, they are the chief security. Maybe they have information that they give the public more to shed light on the so-called foreign headers. But I want to state categorically that what we have is armed bandits, criminal elements, jihadist elements infiltrating all over the country and aided and abetted by politicians who find interest in using them depending on the locality. So we must look at this thing within context and analyze it critically, avoid these simplistic solutions to it.
Honestly, it breaks my heart that the conversation around this age-long crisis is still centered around finger-pointing. And as long as I can remember, and I'm talking about at least 10 to 15 years now, the positions of the government and the military on one side and the Mietiala guys on the other hand haven't changed one bit. And I guess that is why we are where we are. Sometimes, I just wonder, what problems did our leaders come into government to solve? Or isn't government or governing about solving problems and making very difficult decisions? Because both the governors of these states and the president knew these problems existed before they asked the people of these states to vote for them. The president and the governors are now in office. And instead of them to solve the problems they promised the people they were going to solve, what do we have? Endless excuses and blame games.
Our inability to address the Boko Haram issue is what has led to the insecurity bedeviling all over the country. And I say this because you may recall 2013, 2014. Now we had a similar situation that is occurring today. So it's like history is repeating itself. Locations after locations falling to the insurgents, to the criminal groups. Then in 2014, late 2014, 2015, right, we started having a change in the tempo, and we started reclaiming some of the resources, and up to when mid-2015, when the Buhari administration came, his first term, and then the General Burate was appointed the Chief of Army Staff, General Nnamdi, the Chief of Defense Staff, Marshal Abubakar Sadiq, the Chief of Air Staff, and Admiral Ibas, then the Chief of Naval Staff. And for 2 years, between 2015 to 2017, we had tremendous progress. You saw when we reclaimed most of the territories back, that is, we took back from the Boko Haram, and a lot of credit goes to the entire team that is led by General Nnamdi. But of course, the architect of that counter-offensive, reclaiming of this thing, should be given to General Buratai, and then it was almost like what one would call a textbook kind of military operations to reclaim this thing. However, from 2018, right, situation started changing. I say situation started changing. That was when we made a strategic mistake, and I say we. That is the entire high command, and it's not the feeling of one individual. And that was beginning with when we conducted what they call Operation Last Hold. If you recall, that was when they announced it was we were transiting from the active operation phase to the stabilization phase. And it held, I think, in Monguna at that time. President Buhari was there, and there was a show. Now, but the key thing here was, for that operation to hold, they injected troops from outside the theater, troops who were not familiar with this thing, armed them, equipped them, and then to conduct that thing. But Boko Haram were
Nigerian troops.
Nigerian troops.
Right.
But Boko Haram were not sufficiently weakened at that time. But if you recall, also there was that something like technical defeat. I mean, that is alien to military. There's something called technical defeat.
Right.
When you
Yes,
defeat,
I do
you defeat.
recall that.
Yes. When you defeat, you defeat. So, but anyway, that Operation Last Hold became a lifeline, because the equipment that the troops went in for that distance were virtually taken over by the Boko Harams, and that gave them a kind of lifeline. That was a good distance. So now we had that situation now, reversing some of the gains that were made. Then towards mid-2020 to late 2020, there was an operation that was conducted, a kind of investigation, if I may say, investigation.
So let me just be clear on that period. You were saying essentially that around that 2018, 2019 period, people were put into the theater of war who did not have the experience.
Yes, it wasn't...
and they basically ran away. Is that the point you're making? And left a lot of the equipment there.
See, this was what happened, right? We had the active troops in the various battalions, in the brigades, the task force brigade, tech sectors and all this, that were there conducting the operation. Then, to conduct that Operation Last Hold, which was supposed to culminate in the Nigerian Army Day celebration, what they call NASCEL. That was, I think, July 7th, July 6th, that is 2018. So they brought in troops from outside the theater, equipped them to conduct that. And there was a show, military parade, show, airborne display and all that thing. So those troops essentially who came in were like greenhorns. They were troops that were not in combat.
They had no experience of combat.
Some had experience, but they were not the troops of the operation. Then Zaman Lafia.
Right.
No, Lafia Dole. Lafia Dole, then it was named Lafia Dole. So those troops came. They weren't hardened per se, and Boko Haram launched attacks and captured most of the equipment.
Right.
Now, that was the first strategic mistake we made. Secondly, was in light of that setback, now they activated what they call the super camp concept. Now, they gave up territories for strength. Now, territories that we captured earlier, hitherto, 2015, 2016, 2017, right? They gave them up and then consolidate in terms of having troop security protection kind of distance. So a strong point, so to speak, and then gave up some. So this gave Boko Haram the second breather. They were, ability to roam about. And
they regained territory, basically.
Yeah, but we gave it up. They didn't recapture it from us. We gave up the territories. That is, pull back and then
consolidated in certain strongholds.
Absolutely.
Right.
Right. Now, and then gave them,
but that was a strategic decision, was it?
It was a strategic mistake. This was a mistake, like I said. And this one is not...
But wouldn't trying to hold those positions have spread your troops too thin?
Good.
And put them at risk?
Precisely. Right. It will have done that. But, you see, the thing is that in defensive operation, because at that time we had already claimed virtually the vast, the entire territories that Boko Haram captured, except in the Tumbus, that is by the Lake Chad, fringes of Lake Chad, where they captured this thing. Now, what we needed to do, right, was to consolidate and build up on that distance. Because a location where you have a battalion, say battalion is, you have anything between 520 to 720, depending on type of battalion you have. Now you thin out the location and you leave just about say 150, 200 at most. I mean, that is not a battalion, a unit in being. So that was what gave the gaps that those criminals saw and exploited.
And they took advantage of it.
And till today, except I don't know, I was thrown out of the army 2021. So I don't know.
When you say you were thrown out, what do you mean?
I was compulsory retired.
Right.
You know, I mean, there was an operation which I led, the Operation Service-wide, the counterterrorism, you know, to arrest those terrorism financiers, if you recall.
Right.
It was all over celebrated by even the former president, the former Attorney General and Minister of Defense. When they came out and said we arrested, we picked the terrorism financiers, sponsors, all that. I was the commander of that, and I reported straight to the district. And they were in detention, and that was when we even picked, as a matter of fact, the leader of Boko Haram. The leader of Boko Haram was not Shekau. Shekau, you know,
was
died.
a spokesman, more or less, at the time.
Yes, the poster boy, so to speak. But the real leader, we captured him. And incidentally, or ironically, he's not even a Nigerian, but he claimed he's been in Nigeria for some time, but he's not a Nigerian. So, anyway, we arrested those guys, and they were in detention. We were collaborating with so many countries, about 33 countries, a key Western country, the United Arab Emirates, and we got a lot of intelligence from them. We picked those people. Some were picked from the battlefield, from the front line. Some were even outside the country. We picked them, and they were in detention. And then waiting for them to be prosecuted. Then in September, October 2nd or thereabout, next thing I was invited, said for interview at the military police headquarters. And I went there on the 18th, and I was arrested myself and detained in a cell.
What for?
I don't know. When I was removed, I reported straight to the presidency, and I said, okay, this was what they said, do not report. That they were going to address it.
Right.
And this thing. So I didn't know it was set up.
All these things you were describing to us earlier about the mistakes that were made by the military. Is there any way to get an assessment of how much this all those things affected Nigeria's defensive capabilities? Do you agree with those who say that the military has been weakened considerably by the knock-on effect of all these things, as well as the ongoing security crisis?
Yes.
Because now they're stretched too thin.
There's no doubt that the military is stretched thin, one. Two, again, you see, the military, the Nigerian military is a small military. The Nigerian army, if I'm being more specific, considering the vastness of this thing. Look at Egypt, for instance. Egypt has about 450,000 active personnel, and then they have the auxiliary and all this, and up to 1.2 million.
Right.
We don't even have half of that. And Nigeria, look at the population of Nigeria, look at the population of Egypt.
Right. So you need many more troops.
We need many more.
Why aren't they hiring more troops?
I don't know. I've been on your show, not this prime time, not the news night, and I advocated for the surge. The surge requires that you recruit more people and this, because that is what is. Look at what happened in Russia, the Kursk. Russia is a world power. No, a superpower. Nobody can doubt that. But they brought in the
but the argument that people are making,
North Koreans,
right? The argument is that because of the escalating security crisis and what a lot of people are seeing that's happening to the army, and what people also hear from people like yourself who come out and say this is the way it is. That it's affected the willingness of young Nigerians to be recruited into the army. I mean, because the principal concern for most people is their own safety. I mean, especially when they feel they don't have enough protection and aren't being paid enough, and then they've got to go there to give up their lives. I mean, so you can see why people don't want to join the army. Or is the problem from the recruiters that they're not going out there to try and recruit people?
Well, I think this aspect can best be answered by the
Right,
defense.
okay.
Listen, but I just want to add here that the Nigerian army, the Nigerian military is one of the best who have the warrior spirit in us, our tribes. I mean, if they are well led, right, the Nigerian military.
So like all things in Nigeria, it's about leadership.
Absolutely.
Okay. What do you think of this National Security Summit that the National Assembly is proposing?
Absolute waste of time.
Complete waste of time.
Waste of time. It's not going to solve it. It's not going to solve the problem in the distance. Right now, right, how does it raise morale? We have a situation where troops are literally abandoning location. Look at the gory pictures that come out of their colleagues being killed.
Yes,
I mean, that was, listen, now we need to retrain the military, right? We need to recruit more people to have a surge. We need to have strategy. And if I may suggest something to the government, right, we need to reduce this multiple crises that we have. Look at the IPOP issue, the Southeast. This is a political issue. It's not going to, no military solution will solve it. The problem with the south of the north central, Benue and this, these are different. So look, if I may suggest to them, right, release Nnamdi Kanu. Go into some distance. You did that with the amnesty program during Eradua time. We need to reduce so that we can focus on the problem in the northeast.
Two things I'd like to speak to here. First off, this so-called National Summit on insecurity is another scam from the playbook of the National Assembly and the APC-led government. Or haven't we seen this movie before, where similar summits were held with very rich recommendations, but in the end, there was no political will to implement them? As far as I'm concerned, once there are no frameworks to implement the outcome of such a summit, then it's a complete waste of taxpayers' money. Second of all, when will President Tinubu realize that he is supposed to be at the forefront of the fight against insurgency and insecurity in this country? When are we going to see him pay scheduled and unscheduled visits to the war zones in place of junketing to France at the slightest opportunity?
Akwa Ibom State Internal Revenue Service Executive Director sparked controversy with the advice he gave to men on social media. He cautioned against women who don't ask for money, stating, "Brothers, avoid any woman that doesn't love money or ask you for money. You will be poorer than she met you." This statement has raised questions about relationships, financial expectations, and gender dynamics. What are your thoughts? Do you think it's a good advice? If you have a brother who is about to get married, would you advise him similar, saying that you better find somebody who likes money that can push you? You can join the conversation by calling us 020-1635-2013, 090-241-63440. You can also send us messages on X. We'll be happy to read your thoughts and comments. What are your thoughts? I mean, how do you see this? Do you agree? Do you disagree with him? Mike, you want to start?
You see, the truth of the matter is, if my brother or my friend or my son or find a woman that doesn't have her own money and is wanting to spend your money, I will say, you will be poor. This one is not ready to work, or you just stop your money. So that's why I don't really agree with him. Because in that case, please, Theo, since I don't ask you for money, I better start now.
At what age? At what age?
It's not too late. It's not too late. Yes, you can. Because if I'm going to take this your person's advice, Theo is getting it off lightly. So from today.
But your time has passed. I'm talking about young, fresh people right now.
My time has not passed. I'm still alive. What's wrong with you?
I know. What do you want to ask for now? What do you need the money for now?
That
one has passed.
Yeah.
So, where is the lie? He didn't lie. And when I read what he said, I was just hoping that he would have added a bit more context to it so that a lot of people will understand. Because when I saw some comments, I just realized that many people did not understand where he was coming from, because he just made the statement without backing it up. So I'm here to help him back it up a bit.
Our criminals.
So with our futures. So I've from studies, And also what I've realized over the years, men are driven by their ability to play the hero. Every man wants the chase. They love the chase. They love to be able to, you know, be your hero, be your provider. Not necessarily financial now, right? But they want to be in your life to, you know, be able to help, to support. It boosts a man's ego when he's able to give you what makes you happy. The typical, normal, responsible man is what I'm trying to define right now. A man wants to feel a certain way around you when he's able to take care of your needs. You will see them saying that I was able, in fact, when they praise you outside as a girlfriend or a wife, let me leave girlfriend first, as a wife, you see the smile on your husband's face when he knows that I'm the one that is making this woman shine. It puts them to work. They find at the subconscious level, want to be able to be in that space where you are looking up to them and they're constantly providing for you with ease. So you see that men who actually are responsible, who provide for their partners, work twice as hard. It's not just about the partner. They say there's
and they have heart attack.
No, nothing like that. Nothing like that. They work. You see the lazy ones that don't die? The lazy men die too now. The lazy men have high blood pressure as well, right? They are just lazy with it. The difference is that the hardworking man, you know, has an ego boost, has more confidence, has more pride in himself for his ability to provide for his woman. There was something I was listening to. They say every man works for a woman.
Why are you holding your head?
Every man works for a woman. Why is a man trying to look good? Why is a man trying to buy the best cars? Why is a man trying to get the best houses? Even our politicians, with all the money that they are chopping, who are they spending the money on? At the end of the day, the man is working to satisfy the woman. At the end of the day, at everything that they are doing. For a woman, I can want to dress good, right? Because I know that Ramatu will see me today. Moriah will see me tomorrow. A man will not necessarily dress well for his male friend to see him. He doesn't care about that. But he will look good.
Wait, no, I'm not waiting. I'm not waiting. You know I'm not waiting. Why you know because you motivational speakers will kill us.
I'm not a motivational speaker.
Nigeria will die because at the hands of motivational
I'm
speakers.
not a motivational speaker.
You know
I'm a
why?
life coach. There's
you know
a
why?
difference.
Because they'll tell us, no man wants to marry a liability. No man wants to marry and young women, because they don't want to be a liability, they will go and work because they also want to participate in the money, in the economy of their family. They want to add. Wait, let me finish. Okay, they want to add. They want to be part of the. So I'm not a liability to my husband. The same people will tell you a man wants the chase. He wants to be the one to care for you. Which one do you want women to do? Gone. No.
Should I allow Ramatu or should I respond first?
No, I'll let BC respond.
Let me respond.
We are confused.
No, don't be confused, right? Understand the psyche of a man. A man wants to play the hero. Does not mean that you would be complacent as a woman. Do you understand? You would hold your own as a woman. You will be independent as a woman because anything can happen. It can go sideways, right? You are able to stand on your own 2 feet. But when the man is there, that is not when you play the hero. You step back and allow him be the hero. So we're not saying stepping back is you are lying down, you are lazy, you are not developing yourself. That's not what we're saying. We're saying you can hold your own. But when he's there, let him do the shining. Let him play the hero. Let him do the supporting. Because you are also helping his confidence to go out there and make it. So when you allow him, when you are the one doing what he's supposed to do, he becomes complacent. He takes life as, okay, anyhow we see it. After all, my wife is there to do it. And then you are stripping him of his ego. At the end of the day, he will not push forward.
The truth is, in my innermost desire, I want to be cared for. I don't want to work. There's somewhere in my heart that just wants to be pampered.
But I think that's a lie.
No, I don't think it's a lie. Because the Moriah you know is the Moriah that likes to work. I like, you see it. But there's a girl inside that just wants to be pampered. I don't want to even work. I want to wake up in the morning and have a chef that's handled breakfast. I wake up in the morning and the masseuse is waiting for me downstairs just to care for my body. And the kids, I follow them to school, drop them off, kiss them, come back to the house, eat good fish, relax, watch Netflix, hang out, go for the meetings with the girls, go for another
brunch
meeting here,
go
and come back.
So what's stopping
I
you?
want that.
Soft life.
But the reality is that we gotta work to put together the life we want.
But let me backtrack a bit. So when you are dating, for instance, and you have shown up as an independent woman who is able to do everything for herself, you are working in your masculine energy. Okay. And you attract a man in his feminine energy. Now, let me define quickly what those energies are. The masculine energy is the giver energy. They don't have to have so much, but you see in the effort of what they want to do for you, of what they want to give to you. Like I said, I met my husband in the university, but in his energy, you see that he wanted to take care of me. He didn't necessarily give me money, but he would, he would put in the effort. He would check for something. The small he has. In fact, his first salary, he sent me some money. I will never forget, 4,000 naira, first salary. Mint notes. See, today, na mint note I they use. Put it. I did not spend that money. I used it to show my girlfriends Pepe because they were yabbing me that I was the only one dating a student at the time, right? How much was his first salary? I think about 38K at that time. So you see it in his energy because he was in his masculine energy. Now, when you are too independent as a woman, the people that will come around you are in their feminine energy. And when a man comes in his feminine energy, he becomes the princess. He's the one receiving. Because you're already there. I have aunties to show this example. He's already there, for you to. He knows that even if I don't move, my wife has got it sorted. Okay. And that's the mindset we're trying to change. Okay, if you put yourself in a situation where you're asking, even as little as, let me give you an example. There's an elderly woman, a close relative, elderly woman in her 60s right now. And the quarrel, they are still quarreling, she and her husband, is that the man still never gives her money. The man has money, but he never gives her money. Why? Because when they started 40-something years ago, she came as a very independent woman who could take care of everything. So while the man was now making money, she did not know. The man relaxed. Is it hair you're looking for? You can get. Is it makeup you're looking for? You can buy. And she, in her heart, like you're saying now, you're a baby girl, you want a sort of treatment, was not getting the treatment. She was expecting the man to assume and know that she needed it. The man is already wired to see you as the one who can take care of yourself.
I'm sure none of us is sure the context under which this man said this. But I will say this. Men, be careful what you ask for. Because just because she's making financial demands and you as a man is meeting them doesn't necessarily guarantee peace of mind and the success of that relationship. Honestly, this looks like a statement that came out of the mouth of a man who has just left his side chick or a man who has just left the beer parlor.